bring active labor to it. So we're just gonna dive right into it because so it doesn't get too late and stuff. So how you guys been doing so far? You learning stuff? Like how? Give me some feedback.
Last week after the class, we talked about on the way home how that it seems so much more real, like it's going to happen, and we actually got excited when you started talking about like how it's going to be in the hospital and stuff, and you could almost get a feeling of how it's going to, just a little taste of how it's going to be then. I think we're both really excited after last week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's coming.
Right. It's
coming. Yeah.
It's gonna
I
happen.
know.
It definitely makes you feel more prepared. Like I can't imagine people that don't take classes like this because there's so many things. I mean, you hear about, but you just don't really know what that actually means, or whatever.
Because the wording, like there's words that you hear during this time that we don't use in other, like it's not part of our vocabulary outside of birthing. So to become familiar with those words, it makes you feel like, oh yeah, I know what they're talking about. Especially when you get to the hospital, like, oh yeah, I understand that.
It's really great the fact that you're going to be our doula, and we get to do birthing classes. It just feels like we're on the same page when you both.
Absolutely.
It's just it couldn't be better.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited about that too because our language will know exactly what we're talking about. Like remember, I'll probably find myself saying, remember what we talked about. This is what's happening right now.
And even just you're getting to know us, like what I want or how So you can just take that into the doula.
Absolutely, because I really do feel like the more you know, the more I know somebody before birthing, just the better it is. Like the relationship is already there. It's not awkward because you already know each other. And you're not like walking into being like, oh hi, I'm Mary Ann.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, here we go. Wow, this is a day we've been looking forward to. And we just kind of pick up where we left off, and we just move right into it. And it's just fun because, it just makes it feel. For me, it's just when I have a relationship with my clients, it's just so much more special. It really is. It is. So it's because I find myself getting emotional when it's somebody I know, and it's just like, this is so it's great. I'm excited. So, okay, talking about last week we talked about like the first stage of labor, and so tonight we're going to be talking about the first stage, which is active and transition, and then going into pushing. So this is where it's fun. And active labor, we have this saying, we say, what hurts the most does the most. And I know it's not a word, I don't like to use the word that it's pain and it hurts, but I don't know how to get around that, because it's just a sensation you never felt before. But again, it's something that we embrace, that we're excited about it. Even when it gets really hard, we know it's doing what it needs to do to bring this baby. And so I remember one class, being a doula for one of my clients at one time, she was starting to have harder contractions, and I was like, wow, that was a good one. And she goes, good, there was nothing good about that one. And she goes, that was hard. I'm like, sorry, it's not really what you want to hear, but to me it's like, yay. This means that we're really moving on, and we don't, when it's moving on, it's good, because then we're going to see the baby sooner, and we're not going to, so, what hurts the most does the most. But then again, there's people that really, hey, you may be one of those that just goes through it and really doesn't feel the intensity that some do. But then again, we do like to prepare people and say, okay, praise God if it's not that intense. But if it is, then you know that it's normal and it's not anything to be afraid of, because we'll get through it. Did you your pencils? Okay, and I think we have talked about it before too, about the pain, embracing it, trusting your body that it's doing what it needs to do, and even explore it. Get past the point of surviving it and just explore it. Explore what is going on in your body. It sounds really courageous, and it is a really courageous step, because most times we want to just like endure it, but like, okay, let's get beyond this and actually like explore what is going on, and you can like kind of find out what's going on with the baby, and that's quite exciting. In this stage, in active labor, the dilation is usually from 4 to 7 centimeters during this stage. And the contractions have definite peaks. They feel tightness increase gradually, come to a peak, and then fade. Number 2, more intense if membranes have ruptured. If your water has already ruptured, if your bag of waters has already broken, the labor will be harder. And I think we talked about this before, but we'll just cover that again. Like, why is it harder? Do you remember, like, us talking about that? Like, if your bag of waters has already broken, why is labor harder after that has happened? Okay, it's because the water is protecting the baby, and it's like a pillow. It's a cushion. So as it's coming down through, it's not bone against bone. There's that cushion that makes it softer. So once the water is broken, your contractions do get harder, and it's because the baby's head is pushing its hardness against hardness, and so it gets more uncomfortable. So the really cool thing, and either way it's great, right? But it's really cool if you don't break your water right away, but maybe later in labor, just because there's that total protection yet for the baby and for yourself. It's just not the intensity, but then again, the intensity does bring it faster in a sense. So either way, it's good, but that is why it becomes harder when the bag of waters has already broken. And the contractions during this time last from 50 to 60 seconds every 3 to 5 minutes. And right about this time, like when they're 50 to 60 seconds, and remember last week we talked about like my yardstick and how to time them. When we get like to 50 to 60 seconds every 3 to 5 minutes, that's when we start talking about going to the hospital, especially if you're having bloody show. I really don't like to go to the hospital before there's bloody show, just because it's more like if there's bloody show, then you know that your cervix is opening up and we are moving along. So at this point, we start talking about, okay, maybe we want to start talking about going to the hospital. And the length of this, the duration of this time is about 4 to 6 hours of active labor. You can pretty much figure 4 to 6 hours in this stage. The unable to walk or talk through contractions. You get so preoccupied with each contraction that you can be walking or talking, all of a sudden it comes, it kind of grabs you, and you just stop and you breathe through it, you concentrate, you can't really do anything else. You're not really, well, of course we watch something, you can sing, you can do that. Have you been practicing your singing? So you do something like we're humming, any kind of those noises are actually good. It's good. Like some people do want to be quiet, but noises are good, especially if because it's the breathing. So humming, going along, with your contractions, just kind of swaying and humming, or just kind of make it low, always low sounds. And that's something Dathan, and I mean, you and I are going to be reminding her, remember the low sounds, not like, ah! Because you don't want to go high. It's low to breathe the baby down. High kind of just makes everything go up to your head. So it's always low. And we can do those things with you, like, Jody, let's go low. Like, oh, not high. So we end up doing those things with you just to remind you, and we make noises with you, and so it's a team, really is a team effort. It's really teamwork.
I've always I'm always saying I will not be like a screamer. Like I can't stand like watching like birthing, they're just like screaming. I'm like, do you have to do that?
If you watch it like shows, it is actually unrealistic.
That's good enough. Because I was like, I do not want to be that person.
However, you will sometimes hear down the hallway, you will hear somebody like, not a lot, but I have, especially during pushing, you can kind of tell, oh, they must be pushing. You hear the sounds, like it's a different sound. And so you do hear it down the hallway sometimes, but it is kind of unrealistic to have this like screaming person like you see on shows. I know. So you'll probably actually be like, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
Just be quiet. But again, those low noises are good. They to help breathe the baby down. E. Change positions often. Walk, climb stairs, rock hips, pelvic rocks, slow dance. And we're going to talk about some of these later. We're actually going to practice some of these movements and practice some of the positions, like laboring positions. And it's endless. There's all kinds of positions you can try and use to help find what is really works with your body and what is really comfortable. In fact, remind me tonight when we're done with class, there's a book. Do you like to read?
Yeah,
Do you read? Okay. I have this book, and Karen read it too, right? Ina May's, what's the name of it again?
The Guide to Childbirth or the Spiritual Midwifery?
The Spiritual Midwifery, yeah. It's just it's full of labor stories. Ina May Gaskin is actually like a midwife celebrity. She's in the hippie movement. She was the one that would deliver all the babies on the farm. Actually, it's still in operation. The farm is still in operation, and people are always having their babies there. And so she wrote this book with all tons of labor stories, and they're so much fun to read because she had all these natural things going on. It's new agey kind of stuff, but it's just so if you can look past like some of their their words that they use, it's just a really cool. Just to see how beautiful birth can be. And it's just really interesting how they, and we'll get into that more, like even they talk about, probably one of the things that I really enjoy in the book, or thing, like to get your mind around it. We had talked about earlier, like to create the atmosphere, like a romantic atmosphere. And we actually teach that the way to get the baby out. The way to get the baby out is the same way that the baby got there. Like it is awesome and you in the stories it gets pretty like crazy sometimes, but she really recommends, you know what, go make out, go do what, just go, just kissing is awesome during labor, and people find it that like if they kiss, it actually like really works. Because okay, our hands and our feet and our lips. Like the hairless parts of our body, and that's when you like rub your hands or rub your feet, it causes endorphins, like the endorphins is stir up, which is like a painkiller, it's like morphine, and so kissing is actually really awesome. So in Ina May's book, she talks about that. She talks a lot about like, just go, just go. And so it's awesome. Like you don't have to be afraid of anything. And actually, I was watching some of Ina May Gaskin's. She has some YouTube videos, and they're fun to watch. She's an older person by now and stuff. But there was something that she was saying on there that I was watching this week, which totally makes sense. Like when you're afraid, and I think we touched on this last week, but I got a deeper understanding of it. When you're afraid, what happens to your blood? Like when you get scared or fear and all that kind of stuff, like where does your blood tend to go? Like just think about that. If somebody scares you like crazy, where do you feel your blood go to?
Your head.
Into your head, right? Exactly. Like you like get red or like it rushes to your head. Okay. So the opposite of that, and we don't want our blood rushing to our head, like we talked about last week. We want it to go down to our bottom. And so when you think about when you get scared or something, the blood rushes to your head. What happens if you start kissing and making out? Like your blood totally doesn't go to your head, right? It goes the opposite way. And that's why it's so cool. And that's why it makes labor become totally focused on the area that it needs to focus on. So, yeah. So some of those things is another reason to stay home longer, to stay at home instead of rushing off to the hospital, so that you can have your freedom, you can have your times to just be private, So yeah. Moving on, F. Get out of bed and stay vertical as much as possible. Now we're talking about active labor, not in the early stages, but active. Why? Gravity. Cervix opens down, so uterus works more efficiently with the help of gravity. Again, when you're up, gravity works with you. You're laying down, how's the baby going to like fully move out? I mean, gravity just helps. It just really helps move the baby down. G, relieve your bladder every hour. Go to the bathroom every hour. But continue to drink water, 100% juice, and liquid chlorophyll. Wives' role during contractions. Number 1, cleansing breath. That deep cleansing breath in the middle contraction, and then again at the end. Cleansing breath and relax. This brings oxygen for you and the baby when you do your cleansing breaths and relaxing. Number 2, visualization. Focus on cervix opening and baby slipping through. Again, when we talk about this visualization, like, isn't it like what you focus on with your mind is actually what happens a lot of times? Like the more you focus on something, and so it's a really good time to focus on thinking about your cervix opening up, picturing it in your mind, like your cervix opening, and picturing your baby going down through. And it's amazing what that does. When you start like picturing that in your head, your body goes with it. And so you just start picturing, just closing your eyes and just getting this visualization of your cervix opening and the baby just going down through. So that's something to to remember. 3, make tension relieving sounds. Low pitched moans and sighs. Direct parallel to open birth canal. Here it talks about the tension relieving sounds. Then 4, another cleansing breath and relax. This was talking about beginning and the ending of a contraction. Husband's role. Number 1, supportive, positive comments. Remember some of the comments we talked about last week. We're almost there, babe. You can do it. Like, great job. You're doing amazing. Help wife change positions between contractions. Every once in a while, say to her, okay, why don't we get up and walk around? Or what about trying going up and down the steps? What about just trying a different position? Because again, we do want to keep changing positions to keep the baby moving down. And during this time, a lot of times the women really don't want to be moving a lot. So it's not something that we ask. I don't say, do you want to do this? I mean, every once in a while I say, do you want to try this? But most times it's kind of more of a command. It's like, let's do this. Let's go walk around for a bit. Because at that point, you're not really thinking for yourself. I mean, you're just thinking, getting through this. And you're not really creative. And so that's where, the support will be there to say, okay, let's do this now. Instead of saying, because you'll find women saying, I mean, if you say to a laboring mom, do you want to do this? She'll go, no. So you don't even ask. You just say, okay, let's do this. 5, hold her and breathe with her. Again, physical touch and just that support being there by her side and breathing with her. It just makes it easier. Number 6, place warm compresses where the pain is. The lower back, the abdomen, or the perineum. Again, remember how we talked about the crock pot or just running hot water. But you don't do this in the beginning of labor. Wait till more toward the end. It's what my coach calls the big guns. These are when you get the big guns out, is the hot compresses. Because those are, if you save them toward last, you didn't wear them out. Because things just kind of last for a certain amount of time. You can't really use the same thing forever because you kind of wear it out. So this is something when the pain really, once you're like not able to walk or talk through contractions, that's when you can start getting doing the warm compresses, or maybe even a little later. But that works wonders. The warm compresses are awesome. I mean, every mom is always like, oh, it just feels so good. That just is really nice. 7, offer water, juice, light snacks, Mom is focused and forgets to drink and eat. That one is really important because it's true. She won't pick up her cup and drink. We will pick it up, hand it to her, she drinks it. And so that's something we just keep doing, keep offering her drinks, even if she just takes a sip at a time, because it's really important to stay hydrated. 8, do not leave her. No woman in labor wants to feel like they're abandoned or left alone. That is so crucial, that there is somebody there that she's not feeling alone. We talk about, we find, like sometimes, like, and I see this is, I mean, some experiences that I had with women that got epidurals. Like once they have an epidural, it looks like they're not, like they're okay. Like they're not, they're not in pain, they're just laying there. And that's kind of when people kind of tend to let her alone. And that becomes really like, I've had some women that really have to talk through that were kind of scarred from that, because all of a sudden it looks like they're okay. And so maybe the husband gets busy reading or gets out his phone, gets out his iPad or whatever, and starts doing things, and she's there feeling alone. And that is not cool. That is always something that the women always need to talk about, because they're like, I just felt so alone. But on the other hand, it's because she's looking like she's okay. But laboring is really, no matter if you're not feeling the pain, it's very intense. And it's just a time that they need support and just need to be there, to really be with. I mean, don't just be doing the things for her and not, you know how it is when somebody's talking to you and they're not really with you, they're not really hearing you. That's what a woman, when you're not really with her during labor, she knows it, and she's like, okay, then just go somewhere else, because they really need to feel felt and like you're really with. That is really, really crucial. Yeah.
I think you skipped 3 and 4.
Oh, did I? Sorry, I did. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, 3. Stay in tune with your wife and the contractions. Don't watch the monitor. There's, of course, there's going to be a point in time when she's going to be on the monitor some, and people kind of tend to want to watch the numbers. We try not to do that, because she really, again, she wants to be felt, like she's being felt, and she's like, we're really with her and not just looking at numbers. So that's a big key there. 4, take her to the bathroom every hour. Okay, I covered them all now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And during this time is a good time for the tub. During active labor is a good time that when it's getting hard. The hot compresses, or it's time for the tub. The tub is really a great idea. That is just really, really cool, because that also helps with not tearing when the baby, because the warm water causes just like it is when you go into water and you just relax, and all the blood goes down to the bottom and stuff, and it just becomes really much more pliable and stretchable and stuff. And so it really helps not to tear as much too when you're in water for a season of time. So that is always a good idea at some point in time in labor. I mean, obviously you can't be there the whole time, but it's, yeah, for at least.
There's a certain amount of time?
There's not really a certain amount of time. It's just that after a while, like sometimes you need to get out to go to the bathroom. You need to get out because they want to check you, or just maybe or sometimes like after a while they're just like, okay, I kind of wore this one out too. But then sometimes women do just want to stay there. So it really, but yeah, they do need to get out, go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. But most times if they really like water, they're like, oh, can I go back in again? So yeah, there's really not a certain time of being a bit, yeah, it just kind of happens that way. That sometimes they're like, okay, we need you to come back to bed because we need to check you and that kind of thing. Yeah, actually, okay, there's a note here that says good time for this. We call like tub time is a midwife's epidural, because it really has the benefits of it. I mean, it really, because I would do that during some of my labors, and you just get there and like, like it has just kind of gone away, because it just becomes so relaxing. Because of the increased relaxation of the perineum, decreases tearing, and the buoyancy of water supports tense muscles and allows women to change positions more easily. It decreases production of stress hormones, and submerging in deep water stimulates nerve endings that respond to deep massage and block pain signals. There's something about the water that actually, yeah, it stimulates the nerve endings, and then it actually blocks, because the nerve endings are blocked. It causes the pain to not actually get there, like the water is there, or the calmness is there first before the pain. So it just really decreases the pain a lot. Transition. Fun. And this is during the time the dilation is from 8 to 10 centimeters during this time. Here from 8 to 10. The contractions are lasting 60 to 90 minutes. Oh, sorry, 60 to 90 seconds. No way. Every 2 to 3 minutes. So this time, you're kind of feeling like, oh my word, they're just right on top of each other. Like you're just ending with one. Oh, here comes another one. Sometimes, I mean, they're not all the same. So sometimes the women get a little longer breaks than others. But yeah, sometimes it's, you know, up and down and just right back up again. But again, remind yourself it's not a long time. The baby is almost here. 2, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. May have several peaks which mount sharply. Oh, here's another one. Not a lot of time to prepare for the next contraction. Mom needs lots of support during this time because it is very, 3, very intense. The pain isn't actually more. It's not like the pain gets greater, it just gets more intense because the hormones that are going on in your body getting ready to push the baby, it's just more intense. So it's not like the pain gets stronger or harder. It just, I mean, that's kind of how, because it doesn't, it just gets more like, the intensity. And during this time, it can feel very overwhelming. But this is all normal. When you feel like during this time, the mom can feel like, oh my word, this is just too much. But again, there's things that we can do to just, you know, the comfort measures, the support really gets you through this. There's times that you're going to have to, you know, that we say, Jody, open your eyes, look at me, you can do this. And it kind of just like, it just makes everything okay again. Because you feel like you feel like you could lose it. But when there's somebody there to just bring you back again, you come back and like, okay, like, you know, it's really an interesting time. And you really, I mean, you really do get through it. It feels overwhelming, but it's all normal. And it is the shortest part of labor, and you will soon see your baby. That's always the comforting part. Like, okay, it's going to be soon. It's going to be very soon. We're going to hear the little cries. And this duration is 1 to 3 hours there at sea. Okay, I have this right here. Transition, and what we're going to do with this, we're going to fill in, okay, T is going to stand for something, and the R stands for something, and I'm going to read those. Judy, if you want to come up and just, or even, would you rather stay sitting? Because I can bring it to you. Yeah. And then you can, I'll tell you what to write. I'll tell you what to write for the T. And then I have these cards. You can do that. You don't have to do them now. You can do them then. Each card, there's a card that goes with each letter then, or like for each, and you're going to have to choose what they go with. Okay, and the T stands for, this is for during transition. These are the things that you can expect to happen. Trembling and shaking during the, yeah, just write trembling and shaking up there at the T. Up there at the T, just write down trembling and shaking. During this time, a lot of times there's a lot of trembling and shaking going on. The moms can feel like, what the world? It's all normal. That's when we know that you really are in transition, when you start trembling. Yeah, you can start picking out what would go with that date then. But we'll do that at the end then.
Okay.
R is for rectal pressure. Rectal pressure, a lot of pressure on your bottom. feeling like you might just really have to poop really big. A lot of rectal pressure. And the A is for aches in lower back. Your back a lot of times does feel very achy during this time. N is for nausea. It's not unusual to just feel nauseous during this time, and you might even throw up.
Would it, like, since I already had issues with that during pregnancy, is that going to be a greater, like, is there a greater chance that that's going to happen during labor? Because I was thinking about that today. I was like, am I at, like, greater
question.
risk for during labor now?
That's a good question. I don't know if it really is. Like, I don't know, because that all has to do with hormones again. So possibly, you know, like even being nauseous during pregnancy has to do with your hormones. I mean, you know that it's actually, it can be a good thing because you know that your body is producing something that's going to keep your baby instead of miscarrying the baby.
That's just like the last thing. I was just like trying
Yeah.
to think, like, the last thing I want to be doing is like throwing up during labor. So I was like, oh.
Karen, do you know that answer?
I don't.
That is actually a really good question. I'm going to look into that. The one thing to remember, if you would if you would be nauseous and be throwing up, there is actually a good thing there is a positive to that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really negative and it doesn't feel good. The positive is you're pushing the baby down. Like each time that you, and I had a first time mom, a while back, and she was just like throwing up all through labor. And I was feeling really bad for her, so I called my coach and I said, is there anything I can do for her that she's not always throwing up? And she told me, you know what, no, I mean, there's really nothing to do but encourage her that it is actually a good thing because she's pushing her baby down. She had a really short labor, like super short. And so, so in a sense, I kind of embrace that just because, you know, like when you heave, like you're pushing, and so it is bringing the baby down. So if that would happen, keep in mind, this might not last for a long.
As long as that doesn't keep you from eating and drinking.
Right.
Because like earlier when she knew it was going to happen, so she wouldn't eat something or because it was by a smell or whatever. So.
Right. And you don't, because again, you don't want to get dehydrated, so still keep drinking, even if you're going to throw it back up again. But just make sure you eat good food, like food that isn't like gross to throw up. Just light foods, not things like you don't want to see your supper, getting thrown up.
It's gross, but you can, I mean, that's even what helped me too when I was going through that time. Like, if I would eat like fruits and like just drink a lot of water, then it wasn't bad at all to throw up.
Okay.
But then if you would eat all that like heavy stuff, it was just a world of difference. And then I almost didn't mind there for a while throwing up because it was just like water or something.
Yes.
That's not like it hurts or it's.
Right. So keep that in mind because you're not going to be eating heavy foods during labor anyway. So the foods that you will be eating, you might not mind so much throwing them back out again if that would. But that's a good question. I'm going to check into that and see if that would at all. If there's because it does have to do with hormones in your body. If they're working for you, as negative as it feels, it looks. Talking about being nauseous during pregnancy, did you ever try eating beans and stuff when you're nauseous?
I did hear about that though, but no, I never.
Okay, just like garbanzo beans, like a can of garbanzo beans. Do you like beans? Like kidney beans, garbanzo?
Yeah. I don't mind them.
Try that. Are you dealing with it anymore, or was it just?
Yeah, I still.
Try that sometime. And again, stay hydrated. When you start getting dehydrated is when you're going to feel more nauseous.
Right.
So keep drinking water, keep fluids in you, and try beans. Okay. I've been hearing that really does. And pickle juice, I just heard this morning. Pickle juice. You probably read that email too, right?
Yeah.
Pickle juice for sauerkraut juice.
Oh.
Like a can of sauerkraut. I know that's not, but pickle juice. I heard our coach actually had an email about that this morning, saying about trying pickle juice and beans. Beans is something I've been telling people, but just try it and see what happens. When you start feeling nauseous, just eat a few beans. It just takes a couple tablespoons, or a little bit of pickle juice. Okay, S is for show, bloody show. I, irritable, very sensitive. This is during transition is the times when you see on TV shows when she starts like yelling at her husband or hitting him or whatever. You know what? I actually never saw that happen. I never. Irritable and irritable and very sensitive. So Dathan, I don't think you have to be afraid of getting hit or anything. That really, it really does. But it is. You do get you feel irritable. It's not hard to. In fact, I mean, you feel that way, and still, like, it's so funny. Women are always like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like they'll do something like, "No, don't do that," which is not offensive at all. Like if you touch her and she goes, "No," I mean, don't get offended. It's just because all of a sudden it becomes really sensitive. But the women are like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "Don't even apologize. This is your day. Don't even worry about." But yeah, somehow they're still very sensitive to others even during that time. T is tense and restless. I can't do it. This is the mom saying, "I can't do this anymore." At this point, in fact, that is actually something we kind of enjoy hearing. When she says, it could be like frightening for the husband. When she goes, "I can't do this," and it's not unusual that they do that, and we're like, because we know the baby is like almost there. You know how the graces runs out for something when you're right at the end. That's what happens in labor. You just like all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed. You're like, I can't. Yes, you can, because you know what? I bet the next contraction you're going to be able to start pushing or something because the baby's almost there. O is for hot and cold flashes. During this time, she's going to be hot or cold. N is need to push. This is where she's going to start saying, "Oh, there's so much pressure, I need to push." Or she's starting to make pushing sounds. Okay, Dathan, let's see how you are doing with your cards. Trembling and shaking. What would you do if she starts trembling and shaking? These are things that we really covered, so, I mean, it's not a big deal if you don't know what they are, but they're interesting. When she's trembling and shaking, what could we do? What could you do when you start seeing that?
Could be verbal support, could be one of them.
It could be, but there is a certain one that we're looking for. At this point, she might even, maybe she's getting a little dehydrated.
Okay, then that would be offer small sips of juice or water.
Right. Or this time when she's trembling and shaking, offer her small sips of juice or water. Talk about the chlorophyll, like for that day, like if you take the chlorophyll to the hospital, as I was asking my coach about that, like how much should they be drinking? And she said, really, just a couple tablespoons. And she said it's really a good idea to put it in grape juice and just kind of have it set in there. And just every once in a while drink some of it. Don't put it in your water and be drinking it all the time. Have a separate like grape juice to be put. That way it's not a gross color either. It's kind of
I was just going to say grape juice, that's brilliant. Because I usually put it in like orange juice or water and just...
Yeah, that's what my coach said too. She said grape juice is actually a good idea because it doesn't weird you out so much. It's not, doesn't really change colors. So if you could at least get 2 tablespoons in yours, or even a little more during labor would be great, but it's not like you have to chug it or anything. Okay, rectal pressure. What do we do for rectal pressure? When there's a lot of pressure going on, what do we want to do?
Hot compressive
Yeah,
blood pressure.
hot compresses, right. Aches in lower back.
also may feel leg cramp.
Perfect. That's the one. Yeah, when there's pain in the back, it feels really good to just put some pressure right. Like a lot of times it's right down the tailbone, and just put some pressure with your the palm of your hand, or like the thumb or something. Just put some pressure there. Not real hard, but yeah, pressure. Nausea. What do you do for that?
Have a basin ready.
Have the basin ready. At this point, when that is happening, actually what's going on is caused by a huge hormone dump that's happening. And it happens at the beginning and the end of transition. A lot of times there's like this huge hormone dump to get ready for pushing. Hormones, our bodies are so amazing. There's a reason for everything of what is going on. So cool. Show. Bloody show. What does this mean?
Sign of full dilation.
Yep, a sign of full dilation. And what is happening at this time when the bloody show is happening is the capillaries are bursting. Like as the cervix is like opening up and all the capillaries are bursting, and that's what's causing the bloody show.
Now, is there always gonna be blood, or you said sometimes? Is it going to happen for sure, like bloody or whatever? Okay.
The bloody show.
So you will know for sure that's what that is?
Oh yeah, okay. Absolutely, because it's bright red blood.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a period blood.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you wipe and it's like blood. Yeah, you will know. Okay. Irritable and very sensitive. Apprehension and panic feeling.
Give verbal support.
Perfect. Tense and restless.
So I would take one contraction at a time?
Nope, not that one. Tense and restless. She's starting just,
Say open.
Nope, not for that one. Oh, do I have one missing?
I have 4 left.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know when that one's going to be. It's not that one. Reassure that it's almost over?
Yeah. Yeah, when she gets really tense and restless, reassure her that it is almost over. Let's just hang in there a little longer. I can't do it.
That's when you tower take one contraction at a time?
Right. Tower take. Let's just take one contraction at a time. Don't look ahead. Just take this one, yeah. Hot and cold flashes.
Fan her, cover her, she may need socks.
Yeah. Need to push. If she's saying, I need to push, but it's not quite time to push yet, what do we do?
Say open. Fan her, blow, like blowing out a candle.
Right. There, yeah. If you want to start pushing when it's not really time to push yet, like just blow like you're blowing out candles on a birthday cake, and that totally like takes the focus off of like your bottom wanting to push. And we're gonna get into the pushing part just soon. So yeah, there's more time. That's a really important part to cover. Take that. Thank you. You're wearing a watch, aren't you, David?
Yeah. 10 to 8.
Okay. Now the second stage of labor, all that was the first stage, going all the way through labor until you're fully dilated. Now the second stage is when the baby moves down birth canal. The role during this first stage, and this is not something that you're writing in, role during the first stage, allow all energy and resources to go to your uterus, relax, flow with labor. It's all, like the first stage of labor is again, concentrating on relaxing and just flowing with it. And the role for during second stage is begin to cooperate the work of the uterus and use resources of entire body to push baby down. The first stage, you're relaxing. The second stage is work. This is where the work really begins, is to push the baby out. But again, it's really not something to be, it's not something to be to fear, because it's really, again, really cool how your body works with this, and we're gonna get into that just soon. But it's really an interesting thing. Between first and second, I think this is where we're filling in blanks again. Between first and second stages of labor, you will shift from passive surrender to the labor to active participation. All of a sudden, you kind of wake up during this time, and you're like, okay, you're ready to go. You're ready to work. Before that, you're kind of, you just, it's more like a passive surrender. You really are, your body has surrendered to the fact, okay, I am in labor, and I am going to be having this baby. So you just focus on that. But now you're ready to start being very active. Body naturally signals you to join in with the urge to push. Totally involuntary and difficult to contain and control. Labor your baby down. You no longer feel like pushy, you actually become the push. This is what's interesting. Even once you're fully dilated and they say, okay, and this is something you might want to prepare yourself ahead of time, because at the hospital they might say, okay, you're fully dilated, let's go ahead and push. It is actually, and at that time, if you don't have the urge to push yet, it's okay to tell them that you just want to wait for a bit, that you just want to wait it out and let the labor bring the baby down further, because you will actually end up having that urge to push. It's kind of like when they start telling you to push, and you can, and the baby, it will produce the baby, it will help the baby come down, but you end up pushing longer than what you might really have to, which takes that, really tires you out. It's kind of like, if that happens, it kind of feels like when you're going to the bathroom and you don't really have to go. Like, you want it, like you say, oh, I gotta go make a bowel movement, but you don't really have to, you don't really feel it, but you're like, oh, you're pushing. It kind of feels like that. Like, I don't even know why I'm pushing, like, I don't even know how to push, because you're not having those feelings to push. So it's okay. We actually really encourage you to wait until you have those feelings, because just like this, when you actually don't then push, you become the push. There comes a time when your body actually does it, and you can't even stop it. And that's when it's like really cool to push at that time, because you totally just, again, trusting your body. You flow with it, and your whole body becomes the push. Everything in your body, because it has the same sensations of when you really have to go to the bathroom really badly. Like, it's kind of what it feels like when you have to poop really badly. Like, do you have to make yourself push when you have that feeling? You don't. You have to. It takes everything in you not to go, right? It's like, my word, I got to go to the bathroom like right now. And that's the feeling that it has. It's kind of the same, that you just can't even hold it back. And that's what we're looking for, and that's what